Dark Kid.
Hello everyone and welcome to Just Put Paint on It with me, Skari, your grateful host. This is your every Thursday and Friday hobby show. This is Season 3, Episode 30, and it's the hobby show where we sit down, we paint, and we chat with even more amazing people. So I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Tanya Gates. Pow! Over that way. There we go, that way. And our wonderful guest, Norn Queen Alexis. Pow!
No.
This is the show, it's a variety show. So we hang out, we chat, and you get to participate, and we paint things. And maybe sometimes. Sometimes we don't paint anything because we're talking the whole time, and it's really fun. I actually got myself a new camera sort of like setup thing, so it's a lot taller, so I can actually work on my Titan without my camera bumping into my Titan the whole time. And like that, maybe you can see what I'm working on. So I'm Skari, you are watching my channel, and thanks for hanging out and liking and sharing all that good stuff. I'm working on a Revenant Titan, as you can see. It's a nice, fun Titan. Oh, I know, Eldar Titans, they look so prim and proper. And yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing today for the next 90 minutes or so. But without cutting more into what makes me tick, why don't we touch base on
What,
Tanya
you don't want to
Gates?
talk about you more?
I love talking about myself. This
I know
is
you do.
the platform I get to do it on.
I know.
But Tanya, who are you? Where can people find you? And what are you working on today?
Well, you can find me on Forge the Narrative podcast. You can find me on Instagram. I am on YouTube, but I'm sort of just trying things to sort of figure out what I want to do there because I'm not entirely sure. But I am producing stuff regularly. It's just kind of all over the place.
Nice.
Yeah. And I do like the Twitter and the Facebook and the stuff and the
Nice. The Twitter and the Facebook. Very specific things.
Yes. And I am working on, I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Gegor Fellhand for 30K. I had originally painted his armor on stream, and then I said I was going to not touch it until next stream. But then I found my diary, because I keep like a recipe diary, and I'm like, oh shit, I painted it completely wrong to the rest of my Space Wolves. So now I'm repainting what I did on Monday, and then once that's done, if I finish that, then I'll go back onto the Night Haunt assembly line. That's what I'm working on.
Nice. Well, that sounds fun. Hello, everybody in chat. Mr. Fish showing up. Prankster. Hello, Prankster. The one and only Gear Guts Mech Shop. Kyle. Wonderful Kyle, who has the same birthday as me. I like to share that whenever I can. And and Josue Arriola, Chimera Wargaming. Good evening. Yeah, it's evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you're joining in from. Even if you just catch the not the live stream, but the recording. So, introducing our wonderful guest for today, Alexis, the Norn Queen, a YouTuber extraordinaire, and Discord Hive Queen. But why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and how folks can find you, and what you do.
Okay. Hello, I am Alexis. I go by the Norn Queen Online. I am kind of a YouTuber. I kind of took a break for a little bit for just acclimating to living here in Iceland. I am from America, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
You have no idea how awkward it is to say that to like Icelandic people. They're like, oh, where are you from? And I'm like, America. And they're like, oh.
Oh.
And I'm like, yeah, don't worry, I'm not bad, I promise.
I don't have an AR-15, I promise.
Yeah, right? No, but I do a lot of painting, building. Like literally this entire shelf right here is my Gene Stealer Cold. My one shelf is just tanks.
Nice.
I have a bookshelf next to me filled with different armies. I have that case back there is filled with miniatures. There's 2 Titans on top of it.
That sounds awesome.
But yeah, today I am working on Daughters of Cain.
Ooh, Daughters. I am loving playing with the new Daughters of Cain, by the way. I'm like, I know Marathi's just amazing. I love Marathi so much. So killy.
She really is.
She's so good.
But funny enough, I can't really get games here of AOS yet.
Really?
I just have to find the community here, and it's a little bit difficult.
A lot of 40K players.
There is a lot, but they don't play at the local game shop.
Ah, okay.
Most of them play at their homes and everything, so just trying to meet other 40K players is tough. But like, I'm mostly I bought an entire Dodge Cicane army because one, they're cute.
They are very cute.
100%. And two, they're really good for D&D.
Like is there like a snake people faction?
There's several.
Oh, interesting.
And they also have Kitterai, which work really, really, really really good for what are they? Variant tieflings.
Like the ones with the wings or whatever, or the.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, no, the heart renders and the heart stoppers or whatever. I don't know what they're called, but they're pretty good. I use them all the time. Yeah. Hello,
Yeah.
Daniel Samiengo. What's going on? Chimera Wargaming says from Italy. Ooh, all the way from Italy, he's tuning in for the stream. That's pretty cool. Salutations from Canada and Iceland and the other side of Canada, which is like a completely other side of Canada.
It's like a completely different country, honestly.
100%. Hello, Shady Nasties. What's going on? Up-and-comer Twitcher, who does lots of painting, has a crazy community, was on Heroes Brush Hour recently. Which, by the way, I want to say, I was on Heroes Brush Hour because Tanya was like, you should go on Heroes Brush Hour. I was like, what is this? And then I went on, and I freaking enjoyed it so much. And then I finally got to sit down and watch a whole Heroes Brush Hour from start to finish, hour long. So if you haven't checked out Heroes Brush Hour on Twitch, every Tuesday and Thursday, they basically have a guest on, and they have a speed painting competition with the guest. So the guest challenges one of the hosts, either Dan or Andrew, and you basically have to speed paint a miniature. Can be any miniature you want, and then the chat gets to fuck with you, and it's great. And they make you do squats, and they make you like use the biggest brush ever when you're trying to do details, and they make you like, you know, do arm thingies. They even put a thing in the chat based on when I was on, which is Zode Oscillations. That is the thing you can make people do now.
What is Zote Oscillations? So you're a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube
exactly.
man?
It was
okay.
And then I was like, Zote Oscillations, amazing. They literally took something that we just had on our stream and made it a thing for everybody else to suffer through, and it's great, and it made me so happy.
I liked making you paint with your non-dominant hand.
I know, that was so, it's like trying to do it with my left hand is like the weirdest thing ever.
So then you have to choose, like, do I paint with my left hand, or do I just sit there for a minute?
And then I made the mistake of showing off what my big brush was, and my big brush is like a terrain brush, which is like a 3-inch wide brush. And they made me paint my model with my giant brush. I was like, no.
I mean, if you dry brush with it could work.
Correct, but I was using all contrast paints, so like my model was like soaking wet at that point. I was like, this is not a good idea. So I decided to do the base with it. I just like painted the base brown or whatever, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and keep it or I literally grabbed and I split the bristles and had like half the bristles squished in my finger, so I make it like a small bristle thing, and I was like trying to dab that little bit in there. Ah, so funny. Shay says it's so fun. Yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. And so now I'm gonna challenge the second host, because apparently there's a system where you challenge the first host, then you challenge the second host, then the third time you come back to the show, you get to host the show. So I want to host that show so bad. I would love to. It's so fun.
Do it.
Anyway, that's my plan. Take over Heroes Brush Hour. Yeah. So what scheme are you painting? Are those Blood Sisters? Blood Sisters, yeah.
The little pokey girls. I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of have them in a plethora of colors because I couldn't decide.
Oh,
So,
nice.
I feel like they would be
Pride?
different colors.
Yeah,
though.
well, why would all the snakes be the exact same color? Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Like, snakes have different
Like,
designs and patterns and stuff, you know? Like a
my
snowflake.
My buddy is painting up my Marathi for me, and he's doing a Western Diamondback for the snake design.
Ooh, very nice. Oh, we were up at the cottage this past, was it this weekend we were at the cottage? Yeah, it was. Man, how times flies. Okay, so went up to a cottage, and got to hang out. It was great. Okay, had lots of fun. And then there was a snake, and we saw a snake. And luckily it wasn't a rattlesnake, because, you know,
I
those
don't
are
think
dangerous.
those are out where you live.
Oh, yeah. There's Muskoka
they?
rattlesnakes. Oh, yeah. They're like an endangered species, and you're not supposed to move them very far from where you find them, because they die if you do. And they're like a protected species as well, so you can't, like, kill them. But they'll kill you. You know what I mean? Like, they're rattlesnakes, so you want to be careful. But they usually
You
avoid
found the
people. They're very,
introvert
like...
snake species.
What, sorry?
You found an introverted snake species. Congrats.
Yeah. There's this, I think they're more dangerous, like, when you go, like, to barbecue or whatever, and you, like, open the barbecue, and they're, like, sitting inside your barbecue, and you're like, ah! You know, like, they're more... Because they found a nice, like, warm, dry spot to, like, lie down or whatever. I think that's, like, the most dangerous part of the whole process. But
There are a ton of snakes out here.
Yeah. We saw, I think,
Yeah.
what was called a fox snake, so I don't think they're, like, very dangerous, but they eat mice a lot, so they're good. They're nice snakes. They're just slithering along the ground, minding its own business. So we let it be. And then and then all the patterns are different. But it reminds me of, like, coral snakes, you know, growing up in Mexico. Like, you learn about coral snakes. Coral snakes will kill you. Like,
yes, they are one of the most deadly
they
snakes.
will just kill you dead. But there's these
Yeah.
fake coral snakes that have, like, the same colors but in a different pattern. And so you kind of, you know, don't really want to risk it. Which one you see, you're like, it might be the fake one. It might be the real one.
There's like a little saying.
There's a rhyme, like, red on black, you're fine. Black on blue, you're going to die soon, or something like that. Like, it's
It's red on black, you're all right, Jack.
There you
red
go.
on yellow, you're a dead fellow.
There you go. I would have died already, because I totally didn't remember the rhyme. We're like, and I touched the wrong snake and it bit me and I'm dead now. Aloha from Hawaii, says Heath Hooper. Hey, what's going on? Robert Lamborn, hello. How is everyone? I'm doing well. How are you, Tanya? How are you, Alexis?
Oh, I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
Nice. Nice.
I'm still waiting for you to try to pronounce that one name in chat.
Ulfur?
Holy crap, that was actually pretty good.
Is it Ulfur? Is that, like, how it's pronounced? Or you say it?
I always say just Ulver.
Ulver. Finding plays in Iceland is not hard. There are 3 of us. I know how it is to be around a small Warhammer community. You know what I mean? Like, it's in Mexico.
Do you?
Yeah, in Mexico.
Oh, Mexico. I was going to say Barry's community is huge.
Like, you thought, like, this hobby's expensive. Try playing this hobby in, like, Mexico or, like, Argentina or, like, the hobby's, like, 3 times more expensive than it is here. So it's like you get a very limited amount of people that can play, let alone, like, afford the hobby and take the time off to, like, play it. So the community tends to be quite small. Like, that was 15, 20 years ago. Man, I'm old. But that might have changed since then. Who knows?
I mean, I live in a really tiny community. So, yeah. I wanted to talk to you all about something. So, Phil the Glacial Geek did a video, I think 2 weeks ago, about how, like, you don't have to stay on top of the FAQs. You don't have to, like, put that much effort into learning. You just have to find people who are willing to play the system from, like, a year ago.
Yeah.
And I just think, like, that is somebody who has the privilege of having a large community to play with, right? If you don't have a large community to play with, you're not necessarily going to find somebody who's going to be okay with not playing the most recent rule set.
Like, if you're convincing enough, they might do it, like, once. You know what I mean? Just to try it. You know what I mean? And then...
I love him.
and then they'll like Phil. By the way, yeah, Phil is awesome.
Mhm.
Like they might do it once, sure. What I find is that like you can talk about a bunch of stuff, and people tend to agree with things, a lot of the stuff. But when it comes down to actually doing it, it's very hard sometimes to find people to like follow through with stuff. You know, I
Oh, it's
find
like
that a
being
lot
an
even at
adult and
like
making plans.
what? Sorry.
Sorry.
It's like being an adult and making plans.
That's
It's
right.
all about the planning for the plans. You're never actually going to do it.
That's right. We try. We say that we're gonna do stuff, and then like something always comes up, and we never actually can get around to doing it. Is that how that works? I feel like that's how that works.
I've been kicking around the idea of doing crusade games with
Ooh.
friends or campaigns,
Yep.
and all of them are like, "Yeah, that'll be awesome." That's as far as that gets.
10 years later, you dust off like this
Uh.
old Crusade book. Oh, I guess it's about time we started playing Crusade. Like 3 editions later. Local Raven asks, have you tried any Horus Heresy games yet?
I have not of the new edition. I have a few lists built, and I'm glad that I get to bring my stupid airplanes.
Yeah.
Like when I saw the new edition, and they're like, Space Marines don't get the Arvis Strike Fighter or the Avenger Strike Fighter anymore. I was just like, well, now I'm sad.
Well, did
And then
they
put it back, and I was like, yes.
Is that in Horus Heresy? Like it's allowed in Horus Heresy?
Yeah, it is now.
Nice. Okay, cool. I have been playing. I've played 3 games so far, and I have had an absolute blast playing Warhammer 30K because it is like going back in time and playing games when I was like in my 20s, and literally
Okay.
just like I love the armor facings for vehicles. Like rear armor on a vehicle is like lighter than front armor in a vehicle a lot of the times. I love the weapon mounts on vehicles kind of determine where the weapon can shoot. You don't just shoot all your guns out of your butt, right? Like pointing your butt out of a building and being like, "Oh, my last guns can shoot you." Anyway.
Did you see that whole stupid ruling where technically, if the tank has line of sight, the weapon has line of sight?
Yeah,
And you can
that's
shoot
you know that
through
we play it
walls?
the old-fashioned way, where like technically if you're in the arc and the tank can see you, the weapon can see you, right? So they're making it like easier to use, but we use the old Grognar rule. Like if the
Yeah.
weapon can see you, you can shoot it. If it can't see you, you can't shoot the weapon. So just
What's
saying.
funny is this edition of Horus Heresy, well, it's technically a different game. It's not even a second edition, but it is a second edition. We all know that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like 7th anymore. It feels like 5th edition.
Yes, it feels like old school 40K, which is perfect. I've been like, I don't know, there's this craving of like playing old defunct games that has really helped keep me excited about that game. But yes,
I think I'm gonna
tried it.
try and get a small teaching game in. My husband really wants to play, and while there is a group of people who say that they're gonna play, it comes down to that like planning thing that you were talking about before. So my husband really, really, really wants to play. I'm not going to invest in it, but I have a lot of like firstborn space wolves, so I'm just gonna proxy those in, and I think that we're gonna give it a go and see. I think I remember enough of 7th edition because I played like 10 games or something, so I think I remember enough that I don't think it's gonna take me that long to get the basics down. So
yeah, like it's funny
taking
how
that
quickly,
one for the team.
It's funny how quickly everything comes back. Like I've played 3 games, and there's a couple of things I'm like, okay, what does this universal special rule do? Because this weapon has like this rule, and you're like, what did that rule do again? And then you like look it up one time and go, oh yeah, okay, I remember now, you know, that sort of thing. But boy, I forget how brutal that game could be sometimes when you're like, oh, take a morale test. Oh, you failed? Your unit physically turns around and runs towards their table edge. Like, they literally run away. And they're like, if they're really close to the table edge, they run off the table. Like, they just flee from the battle.
Yep.
It's so
The one thing that
funny.
I don't like about how the new Horus Heresy is set up is it's definitely set up for alpha striking your opponent.
Yeah, so you think I've literally gone second like every time I've played.
No. I mean, if you just kill like Death Stars, typically the game is over.
So if you can
Like that's
kill
what
the
I
Death
mean.
Stars is what you're saying. Was it very
Yeah.
Death Star heavy? Like you feel by the way, anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, Death Star is a term that we use in Warhammer like terms where you literally put all your eggs in a basket. Like you put your strongest unit basically in all the characters and you put them all in this mega death ball of doom. And you run them at the enemy and they will murder anything they basically run into, and they tend to be relatively tough and hard to deal with.
I'm totally doing that in Age of Sigmar right now.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like buff stacking
But
to make it like super
Yeah.
killy.
Yeah, buff and debuff stacking. Yeah.
Nice.
Got this like killy little Bladegeist unit that goes in, and it's got all the supporting characters. So if they don't kill the entire unit, they all just come back. It's super frustrating, but we're not
Gross.
super competitive in my local meta, so I'm only bringing one of these units, but you could easily bring like 2 or 3 of them.
Gross. That's
Yeah.
filthy.
It is. Yeah, I don't know why Night Haunt aren't doing better in the competitive meta, but I mean, I don't really have my finger on the pulse of
Neither
what
do
they-
I.
competitive meta is. I just like see the results for the week, and I'm like, huh.
I'm still
going on with Night
confused how Sisters of Battle aren't doing better.
It's only like 3 weeks in, but the Sisters of Battle, like they will do better because they are nuts right now.
I have a
They're-
theory about that. I think that there's hobby leg with Sisters, because it's not like Necrons or Space Marines where you can just like hit it with a rattle can and then it's like and a wash and pretty much
yeah,
good
no,
to
you
go.
actually have to paint them.
Yeah.
That and just building them is a freaking chore. and a
Yeah.
half.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Them and Necrons, I think, are like you have to be committed to the building process with those models.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Necrons are pretty spindly as well. It's one of the reasons I haven't built all the skeletons I have for my Soulblight army. Is just because they're so spindly, and I literally broke this one's femur, and I was like, what in the heck? As I was gluing it together, I was like, this is going to be impossible for me to build. It was crazy.
I wanted to ask you something, Skari. Do you listen to Party at the All Points podcast?
I do not.
Okay, well, one of the hosts is Tomb King Tristan.
Okay.
And he is working on making like a fan-made homebrew Tomb King's battle tome.
Nice, for Age of Sigmar.
Yes.
Cool.
So if you want to play your Tomb Kings, you should maybe contact Tristan.
Should reach out to him, eh?
Can I help you test play this?
Oh, I love my Tomb Kings so much. I miss them.
I know you do.
I miss my Tomb Kings. They are sad that they have that they got retconned. However, you know, with the advent of the League of Voltan or whatever, you never say never, because they could always just bring them back.
Well,
They
first
could,
they have
but
to get the copyright back on them. They never had that to begin with.
Well, yeah, because you can't copyright Egyptian skeletons. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's a thing you can copyright.
Well, no, other companies had the copyright to them.
Oh, really?
It's kind of like the whole thing with GW losing the copyright on the Guard, and that's why we didn't have them for 10 plus years.
Until they rebranded them, and they're like Astra Mille Dum Dums.
Yeah, they
That's
still
really
couldn't produce the
dum-dum.
miniatures for them, though.
Right. Well,
it was
I'm
just
excited
this
for the
whole
new
thing.
minis that they've showcased for the Guard and stuff.
Yeah, the
for
new
example.
Casterkins.
Yeah, they look so cool.
I am confused how they're making Casterkins, but you know what? Sure, I'm all for it. Although-
yeah,
I
it
think
seems weird that they're like leaning into Cadians more because they don't have a planet.
Well,
Yeah, but they're like
okay, so
iconic though, right?
the interesting thing about the lore for Cadia, and this goes into is it canon lore, but that's all of 40k. Technically, after Cadia fell, the Cadian sector was taken by Abaddon's forces, but it was fought back against. And the Cadian sector, which includes the planet Cadia, was taken back by the Imperium, which is where they train Cadians.
Mm-hmm.
So it stands to reason that they can make more Cadians. They're also doing that whole thing where Cadia isn't a planet anymore. It's a people, and anyone and anywhere can be a Cadian.
Mm-hmm.
Although it does mean that they lose their purple eyes, which makes me sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's cool like that. They can literally just make anything and like anything for it and be like, these are Cadians or whatever. Like I don't know. It makes sense from a business perspective as well.
It's funny because it kind of fits my lore for my guard, who are like, they were always just like a conglomeration of the last of different regiments.
Yeah,
so,
like a Tanith first and only style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Nice.
Well,
I have 2 different guard armies. One is from a planet where gangers took over the world, and the Imperial ships just came down, and they're just like, "Here's a bunch of equipment," and the gangers were like, "I'm sorry, what are we supposed to do?" And it's like, "Oh, we're gonna continue the tides of this planet, and you have to fight in a war." And it's like, "Oh, okay. Can we still do ganger stuff here?" Yes, we don't care. Just
they don't give a
fight.
crap. That's like very Necromunda style. Like the planetary governor doesn't care what happens as long as the tides get paid to the Imperium. He's like, I don't care. As long as I pay my tides and I stay in power, I don't give a crap what happens in the hives.
Even in 40k, tax evasion is scary.
They'll come get you. The administratum will come get you with their.
And the other one is definitely guardsmen. Don't worry about the mutations.
Amazing. Is that a very Gene Stealer culty style?
What? No.
Busted.
Look, all I'm saying is we know that there's an Inquisitor on the planet. We're fighting on the other side of the planet.
Yep. That's usually how that goes.
We're not Gene Stealers. Silly.
We don't.
Our Emperor just happens to have 4 arms.
Yeah. That's just a local depiction of the Emperor and how awesome he is, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he can
of
give
course.
2 people hugs at once.
There you go. Hugs for everyone.
Just not his sons.
Just not his sons.
Yeah. Was it? 40k lore. If the Emperor listened to his wife, the entire heresy wouldn't have happened.
That's funny. Again, like, so have you been keeping up with like the release rate of stuff, or do you usually just hobby like what you want to hobby when you want to hobby it?
I still keep up with it for the most part. I don't buy everything because a lot of the stuff does not impress me.
Yeah.
Like the Legion of Votan just looks bad to me.
They look like StarCraft, okay? They literally look like a bunch of StarCraft IP models, which makes sense to me. They're like, Tanya, look at the little like the guys with the big. They look like StarCraft Marines, and that's because I'm pretty sure a lot of the designers that worked on this Legion of Votan were like youngsters that grew up on StarCraft that was like originally GWIP, and now they've like come full circle because they're like inspired by stuff like that, and they're making it for like Warhammer. It's kind of cool.
I feel like the Leagues of Votan look like they belong in Infinity. Like they have that kind of look,
Okay,
it
wasn't the only one.
No, like immediately as soon as I saw the first model, I was like, this is not 40k. This is definitely Infinity.
Interesting.
It just has that like cyberpunk feel to it. Doesn't feel grimdark. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you've got cyberpunk with like AdMech, don't you? Steampunk. You got steampunk with AdMech, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of different punk styles in it, but it just doesn't have that because like even the Tau have that feel of 40k, and the Legion of Votan just it doesn't feel it yet. I'm sure if we get different paint jobs and people actually making their armor actually look gritty and like ruined a little bit.
Yeah. But I think I know why it feels like it's Infinity is because there's a lot of round roundness to them,
Mm.
right? Whereas,
This
like,
is 40K. It should be a square.
right? Because even Admech, there's not, like, with the exception of their robes, there's not a lot of, like, soft edges, right? Like,
Right.
everything is very mechanical and hard edges and all of that. And yeah, you don't get that with the Votan, and I think it just feels very different. I think it's cool that GW are, like, sort of experimenting with different design styles, but yeah, this one just doesn't feel quite like it belongs to me.
Yeah, not yet anyway.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. Keith Rogers says, "Hello from Australia. We have a saying:
Hello.
the smaller critters are, the more dangerous they are." Yeah, makes sense. Actually, we had that in Mexico. There's like scorpions, and the small, lighter colored scorpions are the ones that will kill you.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
big dark ones that you can see, they'll like hurt you, but they won't kill you. But like the small light ones that are see-through, those ones will like kill you. Night Haunt might struggle with the Cron Spike, stopping them using their retreat and charge shenanigans. Maybe that's why. Cron
Maybe.
Spine? What's the
Oh.
Cron Spine? Is that the big
That's the incarnate.
Does everybody
yeah,
use
like,
that? I've heard like right now, like the big thing is
Pretty
to
good.
use the is to use a purple sun. Like purple sun is like the
Oh my god, the
thing.
purple sun is so fun. I keep trying to like one-shot something big. I played against Oziark Bone Reapers, and so Night Haunt have a relic where you can auto cast a spell at 12 and it can't be denied.
Really?
Yeah, so
Gross.
because it's got an 8 casting cost on the purple sun, so I'm just like, boom, purple sun in your back lines. And he had like the catapult, and he had the mortar. He had like just a bunch of big characters back there, and I tried so hard to roll that one so that I could just delete something, but it
That's
didn't.
funny.
It didn't work out for me. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you have
Word.
multiple. You know, it's so hard to like dispel once it's out too.
Yeah.
So silly.
Yep. Yeah.
I was under the impressions as MH777 that the Cadian pattern armor is really repeated amongst many other non-Cadian regiments. Yeah, well, Cadian pattern armor is just like a very standardized version of body armor, right? So they just, it's just mass-produced.
I mean, if it's good enough to stop the forces of chaos for 10,000 years, I'm pretty sure it's a decent pattern of armor.
Yeah, just couldn't stop a ship crashing into your planet.
You know, okay, so there's a bit of lore that I really wish they stuck with. Because they seem to have abandoned it almost immediately. All right, so do you have like 5 minutes for me to explain this?
Yeah.
We
So
got
it is a lore
time. We're
dive.
having a good time chatting. I hope everybody's ready for some story time at home. Let us know, what you think of the story after the story.
Okay, so I'm a New Yorker, so I need both my hands to talk. This is just how this works.
Excellent.
So prior to the fall of Cadia, there were a lot of campaign books that seem to have just vanished and are just not talked about anymore, like the Fate of Connor.
Yeah.
No one remembers that.
All the Fall of Medusa 5.
The campaigns where Chaos won. No one remembers. But one of the biggest things was the Wrath of Magnus. But prior to that, there was the Dark Angels executing the Space Wolves. And a lot of people just completely glance over this lore. And it's some of my favorite lore ever, because the Dark Angels were tricked by the Changeling. For chat, those that don't know, the Changeling is a demon. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, they're Dark Angels. They should have seen it. You're right. But this is the Changeling, who is second only to Tzeentch, who tricked the Dark Angels into intercepting one of their messages, changing it, and showing the Wolfen murdering people, like innocent civilians and everything. The Dark Angels, being one of the most loyal chapters, not to themselves, but to the Imperium, were like, okay, we got to go and deal with this. So they went in and they started to demand that the Space Wolves surrender all of the information about the Wolfen. The Space Wolves were all like, no, you have to surrender the information about the Fallen. And the Dark Angels were like, all right, we're going to show you why we're better than you. And they proceeded to start exterminating the Space Wolves. The Space Wolves started losing mass numbers of infantry. Just hundreds of Marines were dying. Until an Inquisitor stepped in. And this Inquisitor was amazing. I can't remember her name, but she gets hit on by Bjorn the Fell-Handed. Amazing, because Bjorn wakes up and actually like lifts her head under her chin and moves her hair, and he's in a dreadnought. Keep that in mind, just hitting on a woman. Amazing scene. But they're like, oh yeah, we had to awaken Bjorn to actually talk to you. Because he's the one that's actually in charge of the Space Wolves right now, because everyone else is gone. And the Dark Angels were at the point where they were about to exterminatus Fenrir. And this Inquisitor goes back up to Azrael and is all like, hey, Azrael. And Azrael's like, yes. And she's all like, hey, you have to stop all of this. No. They're executing people. And she's just like, yeah, so here's Cypher's location. And Azrael's like, I'm sorry, how do you know about that? And she's like, I'm an Inquisitor. We all know this. And so she started revealing like fallen locations and everything, and made a deal with Azrael to go down and save them. But the death toll was already paid, and Magnus showed up. So now it's the Dark Angels along with the surviving Space Wolves to fight up against Magnus. Okay?
Amazing.
The Space Wolves get reduced down to 3 companies.
Oi.
Yeah, just 300 Marines out of like the 1,500 that they had. Just absolutely annihilated. The Dark Angels, along with the Space Wolves, eventually just beat Magnus, because Magnus can't win at any fight forever. He's destined to lose every single battle he's ever in.
Because he does everything wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, just bomb a planet from orbit. It should not have been that hard for him. Take planet, throw it into warp. Congrats, you did that part. Destroy planet. I can't do that. That would affect the story too much. So,
Not allowed.
after they defeat Magnus, Magnus is all like, yeah, I shall have my revenge in a few months
Yeah.
when Gelliman's here. Yeah, and, goes back to the warp. The remainder of those Space Wolves and the Dark Angels part ways. They kind of don't forgive each other at all. Yeah, there's a whole
Space Wolves
civil
harboring
war.
harboring a grudge? No.
I know. And the Dark Angels harboring a grudge against them?
No.
Never. So what winds up happening is those remaining Space Wolves, the 3 companies, are the ones that took down the Blackstone Fortress, sacrificing themselves doing it. Which means that the Space Wolf chapter died. Like, in Fall of Cadia, the Space Wolves pretty much fully died off. And that was supposed to be the end of them. And it was this heroic sacrifice, and then Abaddon just goes, yeet! And Yeetus Deletus is the planet.
Well,
And right after that, they're just like, nah, let's not do that. All of this is already
retcons.
written.
Retcons. I like stories like that, though. You know, like, but it also shows you like the galaxy and the time is like the time that spans the timeline in the 40th millennium and stuff is like really like weird, because it's like, I don't know, it's all up and around and all over the place, and a lot of times. Okay, going back to chat. I remember
Sorry for
when
the
the Emperor
lore,
spat acid on his enemies. Is that in the books? That seems pretty mean.
That wasn't the Emperor who did that. That was the Space Marines who could do that.
Well, I know Space Marines could spit acid for sure, but some of them can still do that, can't they? Like, I think the Ultramarines still
Yeah,
have the
they all
ability to
do.
spit acid. Well, it
They
depends
all
on the
do.
depends on the chapter. Some chapters have lost the ability to do certain things with their like gene seed glands, or some of their gene seed glands are defective. So I don't know which ones are which, but yeah.
Although with the Primaris, I think they have them all because they're using a stabilized gene seed.
Like one of the original gene seeds.
Yeah, I mean, they got Gilliman to use.
We're going deep into like some real lore here. So if you're a lore fan, let us know down below how much you love the lore. Local Raven says, I pray the Votan have battle train, mobile fortifications that walk around the battlefield. That would actually be kind of cool if they got like, little walking like bunkers, with little feet, like walk around, or like.
My biggest thing is that I think Votan isn't going to get it. I think they're going to give that to the squats that are on Necromunda.
Oh, yeah?
And that's how they're going to cheap their way out of it. Because if you look at the land crawler that they released and the main vehicle line that they released for Necromunda, it would take not even like a little bit of conversion to turn that into a squat train.
Yeah, well, it's like a land train of death would be.
Yeah, with multiple like missiles and everything on it. Love it.
Yeah. So that would be really cool as well. So, platforming Norn after what?
Just skip that. Trust me.
Okay.
The whole drama thing that happened, and it's annoying.
Removed. Okay. Mole mortars. Mole mortars are fun. I like mole mortars. Like mortars that shoot into the ground. They basically go down and like pop out. That's always really nice. So I always like that sort of thing as well, which is awesome. Lore is my favorite part of 40K. Oh yeah, like lore just like is awesome. I really enjoy like I haven't actually sat down and read much lore in quite a while. And I do have to admit to that. Like that's just something that I haven't done in a very long time. Sat down and enjoyed the lore.
I am reading Deliverance Lost right now.
Yeah.
And so it's by Gav Thorpe, and I think that Gav Thorpe is one of the most like hated on Black Library writers.
He is.
Yeah, and I'm like reading it, and I'm like, it's kind of slow, but I don't think it's like bad enough to get the kind of hate that this guy gets.
The reason that I don't like Gav Thorpe is he keeps putting the torture of women into his books.
Okay.
Like
I haven't come across it yet.
It's in a lot of his Gene Stealer cult books. He actually has this whole scene that's like, oh, hey, this is definitely not something I'm into. Let me write about it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want to say what it is, but oof.
No, makes
yeah,
sense.
I mean, this is, I think, because I read one of his in the Beast Arises series, and even then I was like, it's not that bad.
He has some really good books, and he has a lot of bad books, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just like trying to see, like I'm trying to get my way through the Horus Heresy because I'm a completionist and I want to read them all.
Gotta catch 'em all.
Exactly. And yeah, so I like to hear what other people have to say about some of the books and the authors and stuff. And yeah, so far I haven't seen why people hate him so much, but now I've got a heads up, so.
That's like the one reason I don't like a lot of his books. Also, a lot of his books follow the exact same formula. And I think it's the slowness of his books and the lack of explanation for a lot of things. But
what are some of the books he's written?
One of the good ones, I'm going to get these mixed up now because I can never remember book names. I'm really bad with names. But
me too.
Wow, why am I drawing a like you put me on the spot now? My mind is just
like, do the Friends thing and be like, it's the one with.
Oh my god, I hate doing that because I always do that. But I know he wrote the more recent Gene Stealer cult lore books, which I personally did not like. He wrote a book where an avatar became a Gene Stealer.
Oh, was that the Inari one? That was the Vrain one.
Oh yeah, he wrote the Vrain book, which I actually did like.
I liked that book. That was cool. I liked it because there was some Dark Eldar in it, and they were part of the Inari but even though they were Inari, they were still very Dark Eldar, and they were like, we don't trust anyone. It was great.
Yeah. Like, I think when he writes Xenos, he writes it, like, when he writes Eldar, he writes it really well.
Yeah.
I think he wrote a couple of the Path books, and those are really good.
Nice.
So I like them. I'm forgetting the name of the book that he did that I absolutely hate. It wasn't Shroud of Night. That was by a different writer.
Yeah.
But that book was terrible.
I like, who did Tanith First and Only?
Dan Abnett.
Dan Abnett, yeah, okay. So
Yeah,
Dan
that's a really good
Abnett,
one.
I like Dan Abnett and his stuff. His stuff is good. I've enjoyed his books.
Dan Abnett and Aaron Dembski-Bowden are usually my two favorites.
Didn't Dembski-Bowden, didn't he do Hell's Reach? Is that who wrote Hell's Reach?
I'm not sure. Let me just double check.
Because Hell's Reach was one of my favorite. Because I'm a big Black Templar fan. Like when that one came out, I read it. I was like totally sold on that. I was like, yes, give me more. Sindri, what's going on? Welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming to hang out with us today. We're having a good time, chatting, painting, doing stuff.
Yeah, Hell's Reach is by Aaron Dembski-Bowden.
Nice. Yeah, I do. I like Hell's Reach was like. I really enjoyed Hell's Reach. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one actually made the Black Templar like really cool.
Well, it was like the first time I really kind of like dove into. Well, I'd read the like Ultramarine or the Space Marine Omnibus or whatever, like the big thing, just like short stories of all the Space Marines. And there was always this one story in that book. I don't know who wrote it, but it was in the book, and it was a Black Templar Devastator squad, which at the time I was like, what? Templars have Devastator squads? I was like, that doesn't make any sense because they weren't allowed to take them back then. But you know, an assault squad, and then like a captain, and that was like the like band of brothers. They were literally like 8 Space Marines because they had taken casualties or whatever, and they were fighting this giant horde of Khorne cultists, and they're like at their defensive line, and they have a wave of cultists come down. They like mow them all down, and the captain's like, okay, fall back to position number 2, and the assault Space Marine sergeant is like, the fuck you talking about? Fall back. We're Space Marines. Blah, blah, blah. We don't fall back. You know, it's like, if we don't fall back, we die. So, like, we need to fall back to the next position. So they fall back. Then they fight them again. And then every time they have to fall back, that assault Marine sergeant gets more and more angry because he's like, you're giving ground to the enemy. You know, that sort of thing. And but then at the end, there's a lesson learned by the assault Marine sergeant as to why his captain is a captain and smart as fuck. And so I really enjoyed that story. And so going from that like really short couple of pages to full Black Templars like defending and so working with Titans and stuff, it was like pretty neat. So
I still think one of my favorite books from any 40K setting, actually like 30, 40K setting, is I think it's called Censor, where like it takes place after what happened to McCragg during 30K.
Yeah.
And it's just this lone guardsman and a Space Marine sergeant with a red helmet. And the guardsman has a long las.
Nice.
And in that book, he kills a total of 8 Space Marines.
Awesome.
And
Sick.
there's actually a point in it where the Ultramarines getting crushed by a word bearer.
Yeah.
And he's like on top of him trying to kill him, and you just see his head explode. And the guardsman is just sitting there, and the Space Marine's like, good, he's on our side.
Yeah, I love it. I love that a lot of the stuff that we read about Space Marines is literally like from the point of view of like Imperial propaganda. You know what I mean? Like, like these unkillable machines or whatever that will like take entire planets by themselves and stuff. Where really like, okay, yeah, Space Marines are really tough and stuff, but like, you know, it's like the movie Marines. Do you ever remember that rule set, Movie Marines? Oh, that was so fun. You could literally play with a band of like a squad of 5 Space Marines that were like, as you would see them in the movies, right? So they were like stupidly overpowered. And when they took damage, you could actually buy stunt doubles for them, so the stunt doubles could take the damage instead of the Space Marines. I know, it was really fun. It was like in a White Dwarf. It was hilarious. Movie Marines. So
I think
funny.
one of my favorite things is like the fan base thinking Space Marines are like unkillable god machines, right? And then you read the Horus Heresy, and they die by the thousands.
Oh yeah. You know, I actually it's going back to like one of the original things we were talking about, playing the Horus Heresy. I really enjoy playing the Horus Heresy as well because it's Space Marines on Space Marines. So it's like one of the most balanced versions of the game you will ever play. Like,
Until you run into freaking
yeah,
custodians.
sure. Like,
Oh, I keep waiting for the Custodes rules because then
Sure.
I'm like, God, I don't have to buy anything.
right. So Custodes, okay, are like but they're Space Marines on steroids, right? Like, they're supposed to be godlike.
Yeah, they're
You know what I
Space Marine
mean? Like
jocks.
they're Space Marine each one is a Space Marine captain. Like they're like mean. Going back to chat. Says Sindri, hey everyone, he did write it. I think the 40k crime novels, says MH, have been very
They're
good.
so
Flesh and
good.
Steel is a really good one. I personally haven't diven,
Okay,
read any.
let me convince you to read it. In one of the books, and I'm not going to tell you which one, that way you have to read all of them, there is an Ogrin mafia.
Nice. That sounds
When I heard-
amazing. Like a bunch of
When I heard
Ogrin
that, I was like, I need to read this.
mafiosos. Hilarious.
Ogrins are like my favorite. They're my favorite part of my Imperial Guard army.
Ogrins.
They're like,
cool.
I know, I just feel like I would fit in with them, like kind of dumb and angry and kind of smelly and, like I just feel like I would just fit right in.
They're a whole ass vibe.
Yeah. They probably know how to party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know one of the funniest jobs in the Imperium is, and why like the modern day person would survive the Imperium? One of the jobs you can have is an Ogrin handler. Okay?
I'm in.
Nice.
And all you do is you just baby the Ogrins all day.
I'm into it.
And you're super nice to them. And the worst part is, like the funniest part is, Chaos Space Marines typically won't kill you. Because if they kill you, the Ogrins go into an unstoppable frenzy and can exterminate an entire planet. That is canon lore, by the way.
They are my children. My extremely large, scared of the dark children.
Guy that was nice to us. Prepare to die.
No, but that's literally what happened with Nork Deadog.
Yep.
When they hurt his commissar, he killed a Moloch to get the commissar's hat back. Then, instead of getting in the Chimera, the Ogrin lifts it up and carries it over to the commissar, sets it down, and then bravely goes inside to get the medical supplies for the commissar.
That's awesome. Because they don't like
they're the goodest boys.
They don't like dark spaces. Like going into Chimera is like the worst thing unless you have a commissar. Nico Winchester asks, Hi, Nico. How's it going? How can I send you my list for the List Crunch? Yes, that's a great question. So the List Crunch is a show I do every Friday for patrons, where a patron of Scourge tier or higher, so that's Scourge, Trueborn, Incubi, or the Mighty Dracon, can submit an army list. Now, the way you do that is I post a thread on the patron, like the blog, where you can just comment with a list, or you can go into the patron Discord and there's a thread that says List Crunch, and you can post a list on there. And then I compile them all every Friday, and I read over them and give you my thoughts, / break it down, give you ideas, that sort of thing. So that's how you get involved, Nico. Thank you for your question. Mark Corn says, I was waiting for the story to end with, and then the assault sergeant chopped the captain's head off. No, that's not how that worked. He did not fall to chaos.
Contrary to popular belief, Black Templar are very disciplined.
Yeah, oh yeah. They're like, they just get angry when you kill Fred or Bob or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're crusade. They know what they're doing. They're just, they come across as very angry Marines. They're definitely not as crazy as Blood Angels.
Yeah, they're not as crazy as like a lot of different chapters. Like I'd put them under Space Wolves
Like in
and
terms
maybe
of
Minotaurs. Like
well,
how
Minotaurs are
aggressive
like
they are.
the new age Space Wolves, right? The Minotaurs are designed to go and kill other Space Marines. Like that's literally what they're bred to do is like go and put out heretic fires and kill traitors. They faced off against Gulliman when Gulliman like showed up or whatever. They're like Minotaurs. The High Lords of Terra do not want Gilliman to make it to Earth. What is going on?
So Gilliman made his own High Lords of Terra.
Yeah. Robert says, what about highly anti-Xenos Imperium? Has Primarch Robert Gulliman brought back from the dead by the Eldari god of death, and the Imperium accepts that?
They don't know it. Like, that's the whole thing. The Imperium doesn't know that Gilliman came back via Yvraine bringing him back to life.
Yep.
They thought he came back because he's a god.
Yep. And he just, like, regenerated.
But the whole thing with the Imperium and Xenos currently, it's very, very, very situational. They have a ceasefire. But that ceasefire is easily ignored by both sides.
Of course.
Because it's the
Because
Imperium.
it's the 40th millennium, too. Like, nothing is set in stone.
I think one of my favorite lines that Yvraine has ever said is, I gave the Monkai back their demigod. They should be able to leave me alone. And she said that talking to Ethereal Stern, who she knew was a more powerful psyker than her.
Stern.
So, Stern is amazing.
Yeah, Stern's pretty cool. The Minotaurs are the secret police of the Astartes. Yeah, Minotaurs are, like, mean. I love the imagery of the Minotaurs, too. Like, those Forge Roll kits that they have for them are, like, so cool looking. Like, so cool. Ah, shit.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Sindri, oh no, this is awesome, says Scub. Alexis helped me when she was at Games U when putting together my armies. Says Steve.
Oh.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Was it you that I built the Marshal for?
Black Templar Marshal?
No, better Marshal.
Better Marshal.
Yeah, the AdMech Marshal.
Ah, boo. Boo, AdMech.
I remember when I feared them, and now with Armor of Contempt, my sisters walk into their waves of fire and just laugh.
Armor Contempt is pretty good.
I love that sisters got it.
Yeah, it's definitely something that helped the sisters, that's for sure. I think the secondaries helped them more than anything, from a competitive perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the amount of secondaries that sisters got that, like, are just totally doable is, like, kind of ridiculous.
Stand on the center objective. By the way, you can do your action on this objective, and because you have a dogmata, you don't even need to follow the rules anymore.
Yep. That's how that works.
Yeah, you see all those limitations? Those are for Space Marines. I
love painting these Titan kits. I should really be painting some Incubi, but I'm totally enjoying this as well. I love Gav Thorpe's Eldar books, says Robert, like Jane's and the Path of the Eldar series. The book with Gene Stealer Avatar is Ghost Warrior. That's where it is. I haven't finished it. I think that is a stupid idea.
It really do be a stupid idea, but it shows you that most people's homebrews are not as crazy as what GW can come up with.
Yeah, that is also true. Scuba Steve says, nope, I was the guy who bought endless amounts of Necrons and Drukhari from you.
Yeah. Okay.
LOL.
Oh yeah, you got my Necron army. How's that doing for you?
Well, it should be better now, I would assume.
Sterling were the best. I miss Sterling so much. Like, Games U was the best part of America, in my opinion. But that store kicked so much ass.
Nice. Holy moly.
Sterling
So much
is a
painting.
military historian, and he's the one that I went over a lot of the Everything Wrong With series, where I talked about all the vehicles and how stupid they were and all their military tactics and how like they wouldn't work in modern day and how modern day military would easily take out like Astartes and everything.
There's a guy, he's actually like in officer training, but while he was still in town, so we have like an armored division that's based out of my town, so he was basically a mechanic for tanks and helicopters and stuff like that. And he used to get so irate at the designs of GW vehicles, right? Because like there would be guns and stuff on planes, but all the bullet casings would have gone straight into like the jet engines and stuff, and he would get so angry, and he would like kit bash so that they wouldn't do that anymore.
So
Love it.
okay, so one of the funniest things that me and Sterling discovered is how easy a Space Marine chapter is to kill. Okay? So in
Okay.
the lore, Space Marines go out of their way to protect a dreadnought. Like, they will all run to the dreadnought to protect it.
Yeah.
This is canon lore all the way from 4th edition to current edition. So the funniest thing is, with that intel, all they'd have to do is systematically target the dreadnoughts, airstrike them, and then just do bombing runs over them constantly, and the Marines would all die. Also, one of the dumbest things in 40K's lore is the bolter. Do you know the bolter doesn't shoot at supersonic?
It's a subsonic shell.
Yeah, which means that most modern day armor, the bolt shell would bounce off of and hurt a lot.
That's
So they're
funny.
essentially firing rubber bullets.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
hit
but
you,
they're
bounce
self-reactive
off,
bolts, though, so they
and then
hit you and
explode
then
in front of you,
explode.
and then
Yeah,
the shrapnel would kill you.
the shrapnel.
But the funny thing is, because of the speed that a bolt round travels, you can actually dodge it. You can see a round coming and get out of its way.
Oh, that's
But-
funny.
But they have multi-lasers, which are just 1,000 times better. They have 1,000 rounds for every cell. They carry multiple cells, and a Space Marine can one-hand them. Why aren't they walking around with multi-lasers?
Because that's filthy
Probably because
guardsman.
it's not
technology.
theatrical enough. People don't just explode.
Well, that
you
too,
know.
but also
They do, though. If it hits their skin, it instantly vaporizes all the moisture in their body and would just blow up that entire part of their body. It's just a way better weapon.
actually, what was it? The one of the best depictions
Multi-laser.
of a multi-laser.
Bolters.
One of the best depictions of a multi-laser I've seen was in the Warhammer Plus Blood Angel series. They go up against a chimera like with a multi-laser, these Genes to the Occult people or whatever. And they're like, that multi-laser like heats up and then like just fires this like laser cannon at stuff, and it was really, really cool. And I was like, that just showed how powerful a multi-laser like can be. It's like, you know, it was like nuts. And the Space Marines would have like, yeah, it was good. So I understand multi-lasers would be really scary. Paperboy J says, "Greetings from Germany. I watched your Hedonites battle report and it was awesome. Please do more Slanesh stuff. I love this army and how you play it on the tabletop." Well, thanks, Paperboy. I appreciate it. It's funny, that actually led to... I played a game where I played the Hedonites of Slanesh at the height of the power of the big ogres of death. What are they called? The giants.
Bahamut?
Yeah, the Sons of Bahamut. At the height of the power of the Sons of Bahamut book, I played a game of Age of Sigmar with the Hedonites of Slanesh, which is considered probably one of the least powerful books in all of like, I don't understand why, because I freaking love how that book plays. Anyway, and I ended up winning that game against the Sons of B-Man, and yeah, that was probably one of the things that most people like have seen and be like, "Ooh, I really liked what you did and how you approached that game," because that's a very hard matchup. Yeah, I got a little lucky in some cases, but yeah, I enjoyed the vibe of the army. Just vibes with me, how it plays.
I
And
think
it's
that
great.
it's not like point and shoot, right? Like you need to focus on summoning.
Yeah, summoning's huge. Getting your depravity points, which is really big.
Yeah, and I think that's sometimes hard for like casual gamers to wrap their head around.
You have to have like a big like it works when you have a larger collection of miniatures that you can kind of, you know, pick from when you're summoning, for example. Like being at the mini wargaming bunker and having like a shelf of demons. Be like, I can literally pick any demon or any unit I need to summon at any point in time when the time comes. You know, but like it can be cost prohibitive for people to have that sort of flexibility, especially as they're learning.
That people don't just have a shelf of demons.
Yeah, exactly. Like not everybody has like three extra keepers of secrets lying around, or you know, like 50 more demonettes that you can just like.
I wonder if I could do this.
You do. I would presume.
I don't think I can.
Yeah. Nico says, thanks, I found it. Yeah, no problem, Nico. Thanks for asking the question. Yeah, I played a Hedonite game recently against some Stormcast Eternals, which was really fun. And because I've been playing a lot of Sylvaneth lately. Sylvaneth are really fun. I really enjoy that faction. They're another like tricksy faction. I seem to play tricksy factions a lot.
What? No.
I play a lot of tricksy factions, okay?
I don't believe that at all.
I've come to the realization that I play tricksy factions. That's what I do. That is my
You like armies with gimmicks?
I also think that you like to play armies that people say are bad.
I do. I like playing armies.
I
people
do too.
say are terrible. I don't know. I love the I guess the adrenaline rush of getting it right. You know, it's like you torture yourself, you torture yourself, you torture yourself, you torture yourself, and then eventually it works, and you're like, endorphins, and then it's like, and then you torture yourself again, torture yourself again, torture yourself again.
One of my favorite moments in any game that I've ever played was with Chaos Demons for 40k. I love how Slaanesh plays. Mm-hmm. I am not excited about the new demon rumors and everything where you can only bring one greater demon, and I was just like, I'm throwing that out the window. That's stupid. But I run 4 greater demons in my list.
Yeah.
I run 3 Keepers of Secrets and Zarakiniel. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce it.
Is that the Forge World one?
Yes. Except I use the Lady of Corruption from Creature Caster just because it looks better than anything GW does. But my favorite moment that I've ever run into was assaulting Chaos Demons of Slaanesh in 40k, assault turn 1.
Yeah.
That's what they do. So I got into the assault turn 1 with 2 of my keepers against Mortarion. And Mortarion was also hit by a unit of fiends.
Yep.
So during my opponent's turn, they tried to retreat Mortarion so that their entire army could shoot. They couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So they targeted the fiends, and the fiends survived, and I just left Mortarion in combat with 2 fiends for like 3 turns.
That's so funny.
While my keepers just kind of left.
Just cleaned everything else up?
Yep.
No, I love it I love it when that happens. Fiends are one of my favorite units in 40k and in AOS as Slaanesh. I think Fiends are great. They're just good in general. They're cost effective. They do damage. They have good abilities. This is both in AOS and 40k for anybody who's wondering. By the way, if you can just see a giant base, yes, I am currently doing the under part of these wonderful shoulder pads.
I love that you're painting a Power Ranger. This is terrific.
Power Ranger. Is that what this is?
Look at it and think of a Power Ranger Megazord.
Yeah, I guess it
Like an
does look a little
enemy.
bit. Well, that's more like the Phantom Titan.
Yeah.
Every time I look at these, I feel more like it's like a Neon Genesis Evangelion, like like mech or whatever.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, not as
have you
not as
seen
techy,
the-
but like that style.
Have you seen the Warhammer Plus thingy, the Tau one?
Yep. Yeah. The
With
Exodite.
the Titans at the ends?
Yeah.
Oh, that
Spoiler
is
alert.
so
But
good.
yes. For sure.
The Titans are in the first episode.
Nope. Oh yeah, the big Titans are. Yeah.
Oh, see, now you're spoiling.
Actually, it's really cool. Something I've loved about some of these like episodes in Warhammer Plus is they're like showing some of the scale of some of the stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like really cool to kind of step into the scale of like the 40th millennium and how crazy it is. Like this like it is a mean place to live or to be just in general. Like it's just like not a fun place to be alive in.
Like, you want to have a skill very badly and one that's like mediocre so you can survive.
Correct. Exactly.
And even then, you're going to be miserable unless you're like, I don't know, an Ogrin handler.
Yeah, baby.
We went over. Apparently, that is the job we all need in the 40th millennium. Be an ogre.
I mean,
handler.
it's the job for me, really. I'm just like looking at all my Bulgrins that I have right here on the shelf in front of me at eye level. Like, my boys have to be within visual range at all times.
No, what was it? We were talking about if you were dropped on Necromunda, could you survive? Assuming
No.
that your body was adjusted to the planet's like climate and toxicity.
chemical toxins.
Yeah, like assuming you could get around that. Do you have the skill set to survive?
In the Underhive?
Mm-hmm.
No.
I think I
Now-
would die very quickly.
Here's the reason why I think I would. The second somebody approached me, I'd be like, I'm an armor smith. I know how to build armor and clothing.
And then they would
Um,
hire you.
I mean,
Yep.
to be honest, I feel like I would be an administratum adept, and I would just be like on a cogitator all day long, like doing data entry. That honestly, like, if they gave you a profession based on what you can actually do well, that I would just be in administrative hell.
I think one of my favorite things ever is this is actually written by Gav Thorpe too, so I kind of shit on him earlier and now I'm praising him, so yeah, definitely hypocritical. But jokes aside, one of the things that he did is he wrote a passage for a Forge World, and they were talking about replacing human workers
Right.
because they were inefficient. And the Magus was like, no, humans are very efficient. And they're like, but they're not. We can replace them with servitors and have a more efficient workforce. And the guy was like, no, we can't. And he's like, well, then explain. And he's like, okay, I will. Can a servitor correct a mistake? And they're like, no, but the servitor wouldn't make this mistake. But what if a mistake happens around the servitor? Could the servitor correct it? No. Oh, okay. So improvisation is something that makes humans more efficient, but they can only work for a set amount of hours. And they're like, yes, but they're also happy while doing it if we give them the right parameters. So they start talking about the workforce in this Forge World and how all the workers work a 5-hour work shift and shift between 2 workers per household, and how they get paid well enough to take vacations. This
What?
is actually canon too.
That's nuts.
And it's just like, yeah, we just keep our humans happy and they work better than machines. Well, work better than servitors, which were the alternative.
I love that.
I love it too. Back to chat. Paperboy says, I've played Hedonite since the Battle Tome dropped. Slanesh is not easy to play, but if you get used to it, a lot of players have problems to handle the army. I would agree. It's not an easy army to handle And by the end of it, I usually have lost most, if not all, of my army is dead. Which is kind of how that works. It's playing Slaanesh in AOS's hard mode. Yes. I don't like armies with pilot themselves. And they have gorgeous looking models. Yeah, even though they're really gross, like Glutos is a disgusting model. Like, he's like he's fat, sitting on a fucking chair, eating like a sliced up hand and a tentacle. Like, it's just gross, you know? Like, ew. But, you know, but the detail is just phenomenal. Pyro says, no, Morty. Save Morty. Portuguese Wiz says, hello. Hello, Portuguese Wiz. I'm about to have my first game with Drukhari. Nice. What are the base guns, without paying for heavy special weapons, for Racks, Witches, and Cabalites? So Racks don't have base guns. They have Rack tools, which are close combat weapons. They can have two different kinds of guns, liquefiers and ossifactors. The Sergeant can have a hex rifle, which is like a little sniper rifle. Witches have pistols as their guns. There's just pistols, but you can upgrade some witches to have two weapons, like Shard Net and Impaler, but you have to have 10 of them in a squad to do that. And Cabalites have what's called a Splinter Rifle. It's a poison rifle that shoots a little shard of poison that incapacitates their foe, technically. So they can then take them alive and take them back to the Dark City, where they will do horrible things to them.
No, it's just a party. Don't worry. You'll be fine.
It's a very
Follow the cavalry
bad
into
party.
the dark tunnel.
Don't you dare. You will not come back. Or what comes back will not be you. Or like
there were 3 enemies in 40k. Like, out of all of them, like, Space Marines will kill you, Guardsmen will kill you, corny Berserkers will kill you, Orcs will kill you or enslave you.
Yeah.
But the 3 armies that I would never want to run into is Drukhari.
Yep.
Any Slaanesh worshipping Chaos Space Marine.
That would be terrifying.
Or Slaanesh demons.
Yep. I think Tyranids would just eat you, so that's like, you know, they're not exactly worried about keeping you dead or alive. But yeah, like Drukhari, like, would be awful. So would like I think any chaos, like, and not just like a Corn for the Blood God, they'd come in and just like kill you. But like, you could literally, any of the other Chaos Legions could like use you for some sort of nefarious purpose. But yeah, Slaanesh would probably be one of the worst. But even Tzeentch, like, imagine Tzeentch would like take you and like mess with your mind. Like, that would be weird. Yeah. Mark Korn says, "Rest in peace, the War Mistress. Long live the Ogre Handler."
Yes.
And
I'm actually really looking forward to Darktide because I can play as an Ogrin. So.
Oh, nice. That sounds really fun. And Sindri Tepek says they'll turn you into a chair or a fancy hat. Yeah. Or a table or something, like, and you'll still be sentient. That'd be the worst part. Is they'd literally probably keep your nerve endings alive, so that when somebody sits on you, you feel excruciating pain.
Yep.
Like, that's just
happy fun times.
Yeah, Drukhari are not. They're like really alien, okay, and they're really effed in the head. Yes. So
It
not
actually
for
reminds
kids.
me of
Kids.
That reminds me of a conversation that me and my buddies had. It was which god the horror movie villains would fall to, and I said Leatherface would fall to Slaanesh.
Yeah, you think he would?
Yeah, because he makes furniture out of people and faces.
Gross.
I mean, Pinhead basically is a demon of Slaanesh.
Well, Slaanesh is based off of Hellraiser. Like, that's just flat out what it's based
I feel like he's a herald.
Of Slaanesh?
Enough.
Herald of Slaanesh? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put this Titan together so folks can see how this is coming along. I love that it's magnetized.
Freddy Krueger would definitely be Tzeentch.
Oh, yeah. Look at this. Oh, it looks so cool. It looks so cool. I could probably swing this out this way, like this. You can see it. Oh, look at that. It's what I call having a better camera setup. So I can.
Look at how fancy that is.
Yeah. And then this has arms. Just put the arms on.
I have arms too.
We have arms. You have arms. We all have arms. Brought to
My
you
guardsmen have
by
more arms than
the
you.
later, by the letter.
They do.
arms.
Don't tell the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
They can hold more guns.
Don't tell the Inquisition.
They're just so efficient.
That's right. Look at this. I feel like it's like a little Gundam I get to play with.
You know, I can't say anything because earlier I was making stab noises.
Yes. Yeah, stab. Yeah. There you go. Look at that. This is going to be my second Revenant Titan. Huge shout out to Gear Guts Mech Shop who gave me this Titan and the Phantom Titan that's up there so that we could play with our little toy soldiers together and have tons of fun, which I'm very, very excited about.
Yes, little toy soldiers.
Yep, little toy soldier Titans. So I'm actually having a lot of fun with that, although I should probably prime and get some what is it? Oh, I should probably
Get some, it's go time.
I should get some. I should get these guys painted, primed. I mean, these incubi, because I have to get them ready for the WTC, which is happening in Belgium in like 2 weeks. Oh my god, 3 weeks! I'm so pumped. It's gonna be so good. So I'm really fine. But before we finish up for the day, Alexis, please let us know one more time where folks that are watching can find you, and do you have any projects coming up that people should look out for?
Actually, I do have a project that I think you'll be excited about.
Ooh, fancy.
Take a look at the camera.
Ooh, Elda. That is a wave serpent.
Yeah.
I like wave serpents.
I'm gonna paint up a whole bunch of them like this. Well, actually, I'm gonna have them painted because I can't match this.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm gonna be working on some Eldar and probably trying to get some more battle reports out in the near future. I nearly got everything taken care of here in Iceland for like my residency and everything.
Nice.
It's just been a pain in the butt. But as soon as I can find some people to film with, we're going to be throwing out some more battles. I'm going to try to get a campaign filmed soon. Me and Victor have been talking about doing a 10,000 point campaign against each other.
Mm-hmm.
But you can find me on YouTube under Norn Queen Alexis or Twitter, same title. But yeah.
No, I love it. That's fantastic. Look forward to it. Anton says, greetings from Ukraine. Slava Ukraine. And what do you think about the new Void Scarred Corsairs miniatures? Do you ever think about adding them miniatures to your existing army? I painted a squad of 10, actually. Squad of Corsairs, I put them all in purple with like the capes and stuff. They look really cool, and I use them every once in a while in battle reports. I like them, and I think they're really fun. So yeah, that's just kind of how that works. So I recommend them. If you can convert them, that works too. But I love the idea of pirates and boats. Like that's just I play pirates and boats, and they're pirates, and you can put them in boats, and they fly around, and they're pretty fun. Plus, you put them in a raider, and you give the raider splinter racks, and then they're like super pirates and boats, which is always really fun. Okay, so with that, Tanya, before we finish up for the day, why don't you remind folks where they can find you?
Well, you can mostly find me on my Instagram. You can find me on Forge the Narrative Podcast, and I'm kind of like dabbling with YouTube a little bit, so you can find me there, and my Patreon Discord.
Amazing.
That's it.
Which I'm on, and it's really fun and friendly, and I like it. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us today. This has been episode 30 of Just Put Paint on It, Season 3. Will be the last episode is tomorrow for Season 3, and then we'll be taking a hiatus for a couple of months, and then we'll come back with Season 4, where we'll have even more people. We have Duncan Rhodes coming on tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. So make sure he's awesome.
He's another
I love
sweetheart.
him. So if you have 2 coats of paint on your heart, you should come and hang out with us because we're going to be hanging out with Duncan, 2 coats himself, for the season finale of Season 3, which is really awesome, episode 31. And then we'll be back after the WTC and my trip to England and holiday stuff, and then we'll basically be back with doing a whole bunch of other stuff with more guests and more awesome times to hobby. So hopefully you stick around for that. Of course, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have a Patreon. The link is down below. Any support is greatly appreciated so we can continue doing this and other things. Other than that, thank you very much. Does undercoat and contrast count as 2? Sure, we'll say yes. Other than that, I've been Skari, your grateful host. This has been Tanya, my wonderful co-host, and Alexis, our wonderful guest for today, who's fresh dad jokes. Yeah, I guess we could make like a... Okay, so there's a porcupine. Okay.
No.
And the porcupine is spanking her child porcupine. Okay, it's very bad. So she tells him. She says, "This is hurting me more than it's hurting you." Anyway, on that note, don't forget to hashtag just got Alexis so good. Look at that, she's like laughing around. So, bye everybody. Just put paint on it. Bye.
Just say no to dad jokes.
No, don't say no. Say yes. Lots of yes.
I love puns.